Okay, so we are moving on to part 2, configuring multi-area OSPF routing, starting on router 1. So we go to router 1, I'll look at my configs. Step 1, of course, is to provide the router ID. And then, of course, once you create the routing process, you create the router ID for it, and that's unless you need to do something like reset set passive interfaces, passive interface default, redistribute or default information originate, etc. Unless you need to do that specifically for this IPv6 implementation of OSPF, you're done in router mode. All you need is to go into the interfaces and do that. So let's look at, we're also going to turn these into point-to-point networks. That'll allow it to handle those correctly. So, okay, let's see here. Router ID. Copy. Of course, Cisco enable class and config t and paste. Okay, so of course, because if you did router ID first in some other way, it might not give you this message. Thing is, there's really no point on a router that's only running IPv6 to create an OSPF routing process purely for the purpose of giving it a router ID that OSPF v3 can use. Let it gripe at you for a minute, give it what it wants, then be done. So now, let's go into these areas. Notice what I'm doing here. I'm putting all of my loopbacks in area 1 and my interface serial 000 in area 0 in the backbone. So this side of the router here, going toward router 2, is in the backbone. All the virtuals are in area 1. Okay, so I guess it would help. Copy. Bam. Okay, so do show IPv6 proto. There, so, and I can confirm this with show IP protocols, show IPv6 protocols, really. So now let's do 2. Now, once we do 2, neighbor adjacency will start to form, and we'll see convergence begin. Of course, we can't really call the network converged until everything is done on 3, and 1 and 3 can see each other's loopbacks. Up until that point, it's the solution is incomplete. So let's look at router 2 now. I'm going to copy. I'm going to do it all at once. Okay, so the adjacency is forming. And now I'll do the same thing on router 3. Aha! I didn't give it a router ID. That's a problem. Okay. Oh, I skipped this part. Yeah, it's kind of important to create the process first. Okay, that didn't work. Okay, so what I'm going to have to do is go do this part again. Now we go. So it's talking to 1, it's talking to 3. And notice I've got 8. What else did it advertise? Should be advertising 6 and 7. Oh, see, there's a lot more. I see 5, 6, and 7 as inter-area routes. So there's that. That's good. Now the last thing we need to do is, of course, we can't do show IP interface brief. This will not work because this command is not implemented in Packet Tracer. Let me show you. Okay, see, I can do show IP OSPF interface, and I can specify the interface. What I cannot do is show IP interface brief, but it would look, on real hardware, it would look something like this. Basically, what we did with these network point-to-point statements is tell it to treat those loopbacks like serial lines as opposed to gigabit multi-access networks. So it doesn't, for no good reason, attempts to spend time doing BR and DR elections for a whole bunch of loopbacks that aren't talking to anything. So our next step is to, okay, let's do, okay, do show IP route OSPF, show IPv6 route OSPF. Oh. Okay, so I see 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 23. 8 and 23 are in area 0. Everything else is in a different area. Let's see, show IP. See, I've got area 1, area 0. Okay, cool. So it's, yeah, area 1 and area 0. Now let me look at R3. Oh, okay. R3 is where things are different. Area 2 and area 0. Okay, that's fine. So the last step is phase 3 of this, route summarization. What we're going to do is convert these summary networks. What you're going to do, basically what you have to think about doing is think about how much of these addresses they have in common. And then what prefix other than 64 will sufficiently summarize that. We're thinking more or less. I was about to say we were thinking in the same terms as IPv4 subnetting, but that's really not true because you can't think in terms of that 3x8 table that I used in the IPv4 version of this lab's topology. IPv4 version of this topology's lab. You still have to think about what do they have in common, and that's how you go from what you essentially are trying to do is going from a whole bunch of /64s to figure out what kind of prefix, even if no one is actually using it, will allow you to reach all of those networks by going in the right direction. So we're going to turn these 64s into a into a 62 on router 1, and these 64s into a 61 on router 3. So we do the area 1 range command, just like IPv4, except that instead of providing a network ID and a subnet mask which aggregates the actual subnets that you want to represent, we're going to change the prefix, because effectively the prefix is the indicator for IPv6 of how much of the address belongs to the network. How long is the mask? So with this, we're dealing with a slash 62 in this case. Now, remember from the IPv4 version of this lab, on one side of the network, we could effectively aggregate or route summarize with, say, going from a /24 to a /22, like going from a /30 to a 32 to a 30, with a network interval of 4. In this, on the other side of that same network, in the other area, or rather, yes, in the other area, we actually had to go all the way down to a /19 because there were so much more to deal with. I'm going to do a /61 here on router 3. Aha. And it would help if I did IPv6, not IVP6. And it didn't take that, so. Now, the acid test here is show IP route OSPF. So right now we're seeing we're still seeing those /64s. Let's see. It's possible I will need to clear the process and reboot all this. Strangely enough, yeah, there it goes. So it's going to break all these relationships and rebuild them. Hmm. Let me look at router 2. So I was puzzling out why it wasn't converging correctly. Then I looked again at the statement I'd made. Area 1 range. Now, it occurred to me, wait a minute. the things I'm trying to summarize aren't in area 1, they're in area 2. So I did this, area 2 range, bam, and then I did my show IPv6 route again on router 1, and now I see that /61. So let me do now the thing to really make this right, so I need to take that area 1 statement out completely. It's not good enough to put the right one in. I also have to take the wrong one out. Actually, what I need to do is really put a no statement in front of that. Now, what I did before, show run pipe begin IPv6 router OSPF, that takes me right to that configuration section of show run. Instead of having to start at the top and page down through it, I go straight to where I want to. And there we go. And now that's good. I am fully converged. Let me see. So this now sees the /61 coming from area 2 and the /62 coming from area 3. Everybody's happy. I don't have to worry about the individual loopbacks in those ranges because I know that part of the network is over that way. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.